Reaching the top is an achievement. Living from it is mastery. Today, the energy is at its peak. The light of the buck moon in Capricorn is at its maximum. The clarity is total. You are at the top of the mountain, looking at your life with a 360-degree view that few manage to achieve. The verdict has been delivered. You see what works, what doesn't, what needs to be built, and what needs to be released. It is a moment of absolute power and truth. Many guides, many videos, many rituals end here. They help you climb. They celebrate the peak. And they leave you alone on the summit with your revelation. But the question that no one asks, the most important question of the entire journey is, what about tomorrow? What happens when the moonlight begins to wane and you have to begin the long and sometimes difficult descent back into the valley of your daily life? How do you take the clarity of the peak into the confusion of your emails, into the pressure of your responsibilities, into the complex dynamics of your relationships? The truth is that reaching the top is the easy part. The adrenaline, the goal, the energy of culmination propel us. The true test of mastery, the true spiritual alchemy, happens on the descent. It is in the process of integration that momentary revelation transforms into permanent wisdom. Without a conscious process to anchor the energy, today's blinding clarity will become just the distant memory of a beautiful dream by next week. This transmission is not about how to reach the top. We have already done that. This transmission is about how not to lose the view from the top when you get back to the base. This is your integration guide for the days that follow the full moon. We will talk about how to turn epiphany into practice, inspiration into discipline. We will learn to bottle the lightning, to bring the light of the mountain into your lantern, so that it can illuminate your path in the valley on the days when darkness and routine threaten to make you forget what you saw. The difference between a spiritual tourist who just visits the peaks to take a photo and then returns to the same life as before, and an embodied master who lives the wisdom of the mountain in every act of their day lies entirely in the work of integration. And to do this work, we must first be brutally honest about the challenge that awaits us. We need to name the enemy of integration, the phenomenon that causes the most powerful resolutions to dissolve in a few days. We need to talk about valley amnesia. What is valley amnesia exactly? It is one of the most frustrating, silent, and universal phenomena of the growth journey. It is the almost immediate disconnection between our peak consciousness and our valley behavior. It is the experience of being touched by a divine truth in a moment of clarity and the very next day acting as if nothing happened. It's as if, at the top of the mountain, you were a god, seeing everything with absolute clarity and power. But upon descending and re-entering the dense atmosphere of your daily life, you once again put on the heavy coat of your old habits, your limiting beliefs, and your deepest fears. And the memory of who you were up there, of that version of yourself who knew exactly what to do, begins to fade like a dream at dawn. Think about it. With brutal honesty, how many times has this happened to you? On Thursday, under the full light of the full moon, you have a world-shattering revelation. You realize with a certainty that vibrates in every cell of your body that your current career is not aligned with your soul, that it is draining your life. You feel in your body the need to change, to seek something with more purpose. You make plans, you feel energized, inspired, ready for revolution. On Friday, you wake up, you open your email inbox. There are 50 new messages, urgent problems that demand your attention. The pressure of routine and the clarity of the previous night begins to seem naive. unrealistic. How could I just change careers? Your logical mind asks. I have bills to pay. I have responsibilities. It was just an emotional moment. And little by little, the grand revelation gets buried under the weight of the valley's pragmatism. Or perhaps your revelation was about a relationship. At the peak of the full moon, you finally understood that you need to set a clear boundary with a family member, friend, or partner. You felt the strength, the authority, and the self-respect to do it. You rehearsed the words. You were ready. The next day, the phone rings. It's that person, and the moment you hear their voice, the old reactive pattern is triggered like a reflex. The fear of disappointing, the need to be the good guy or good girl, the guilt, and you find yourself once again saying yes when your soul was screaming no. And right after comes the tide of self-anger, the frustration. Why can't I change? What is wrong with me? It is crucial that you hear this now. There is nothing wrong with you. This is not a character flaw. It is not a lack of willpower. It is a real energetic phenomenon, which we can call the gravity of the valley. The valley of our daily life is a dense energetic field formed by years, perhaps decades, of repeated habits, of beliefs ingrained in our subconscious mind, and of interactions with other people who are stuck in their own patterns. Our brains are like rivers. They always seek the path of least resistance, the riverbed that has already been carved by years and years of repetition. The revelation at the mountain's peak is like a torrential rain that shows that a new path for the river is possible. But as soon as the rain stops, the water naturally tries to return to the old, familiar, and easier riverbed. Integration, therefore, is not a passive state. It is the conscious and disciplined work of taking a shovel and starting to dig a new riverbed for the river of your consciousness day after day until the new path becomes the most natural one. Valley amnesia is the natural tendency of our energy to return to the familiar, even if the familiar is a prison. Recognizing this phenomenon without judgment is the first and most important step to overcoming it. But how, in practice, do you dig this new riverbed? How do you anchor the energy of the peak into the soil of the valley? For this, the cosmos, in its infinite wisdom, offers us a specific period, a lunar phase designed for exactly this work, the waning moon phase. And this is where most people get lost. They treat the full moon as the finish line. They receive the clarity, feel the intensity, and then go back to their lives, expecting the magic to sustain itself. But nature is wiser than that. It gives us a period designed specifically for the work of integration. And it is this period that we enter now. To understand how to anchor the wisdom of the peak, we must first understand the waning moon phase. Many see the waning moon as an end, a loss of light, an energy of closure, and it is all of that. But on a deeper level, its primary function is not just to finish. It is to anchor wisdom and release what is unnecessary before the next cycle. It is the time when nature teaches us to harvest, process, and store nutrients before winter arrives. The waning phase begins just after the peak of the full moon and lasts for approximately 2 weeks, until the total darkness of the new moon. It is the period when the moon's light visibly decreases in the sky each night. Energetically, this represents a fundamental turn inward. If the waxing phase, from the new moon to the full, is about action, building, expansion, and energy spent in the outer world, the waning phase is about the opposite: release, introspection, reflection, and internal integration. It is a universal call from the cosmos to slow down. The universe asks us to stop doing and start being, to stop planting and start processing the harvest that the full moon illuminated. Think of the cycle of a breath. The new moon is the emptiness before the inhale. The waxing phase is the inhalation, filling the lungs with air and energy. The full moon is the moment of full lungs, the peak of contained energy. And the waning moon is the long, slow, controlled exhalation, where we release what no longer serves, the carbon dioxide, and absorb the oxygen that nourishes us. Trying to act with the same intensity of the waxing phase during the waning is like trying to inhale while you should be exhaling. It is going against nature, and that inevitably leads to exhaustion and frustration. And this waning phase that begins now is especially powerful because it carries the resonance of the Capricorn full moon that initiated it. The energy of Saturn, the ruler of Capricorn, is that of the master of integration. Saturn does not care for peak experiences that do not lead to lasting structured change. He despises weekend spirituality. He wants to see wisdom embodied. The question Saturn asks us during this waning phase is, was that revelation you had on the mountaintop just a pretty firework, or are you going to use it to build a stronger foundation for your life? The waning moon, under Saturn's influence, therefore becomes a period of cosmic homework. It is the time to take the abstract clarity of the verdict and transform it into a structured action plan. It is when the hermit's wisdom descends from the mountain and begins to organize his cabin for the winter. It is quiet, solitary, and sometimes tedious work, but it is the work that ensures survival and success in the next cycle. It is the time to look at what the full moon revealed about your career and start polishing your resume, or researching that course, or having that serious conversation about your future. It is the discipline of Saturn applied to the revelation of the moon. The other great gift of the waning moon is release. As the light is diminishing, it is the astrologically perfect time to get rid of things, to create space. Bad habits, toxic relationships, limiting beliefs, physical clutter in your home. It is easier to let go when the universal flow is moving in the same direction. Trying to get rid of a bad habit during the waxing moon is swimming against the tide. In the waning phase, the current is in your favor, helping to carry away what you no longer want to carry. Therefore, the days that follow the full moon are not a void or an anticlimax. They are a sacred and productive workspace, a time to integrate wisdom and release weight. It is the sculptor's workshop, where he refines the details of his masterpiece after the great revelation on the mountaintop. Understanding the nature of this time is the first step. The next is to have the right tools for the job. How can we, in practice, use this period to translate vision into reality? What are the rituals that allow us to anchor the light of the mountain in the soil of the valley? The answer lies in ritual. The energy of a full moon is immensely powerful, and to channel it constructively after its peak, we need deliberate practices that bring the energy from the sky to the earth. What follows are not just exercises. They are rituals of power to be practiced during the days of the waning moon, to ensure that the wisdom of the peak is not lost on the descent. The first ritual directly attacks valley amnesia. The biggest challenge of integration is scale. The revelation at the top of the mountain is grand, abstract, immense. Life in the valley is made of small steps, emails, and conversations. Paralysis happens when we try to apply the macro vision directly to the micro world. The first ritual is that of translation, the act of transforming your immense vision into a single, small, feasible action. Take your journal. At the top of a page, write the verdict or the grand vision that the full moon brought you. Be as clear as possible. For example, I realized that I need more autonomy and authority in my career to feel fulfilled. This is the view from the mountaintop. It's beautiful, but it's not an action plan. Now look at this grand vision and ask yourself, with the practicality of Capricorn. What is the smallest, safest, and most obvious first step I can take in this direction in the next week? Don't think about the second or third step. That leads to overload. Just the first. The answer might be surprisingly small and even boring. Maybe it's send that email to schedule a conversation, or update the first section of my LinkedIn profile, or buy that book on leadership that was recommended to me. Write this single step on a new line. This is your only focus for the coming week. By translating the grand vision into a tiny step, you remove the paralysis and begin to dig the new riverbed of your reality. The second ritual is to protect your clarity from the erosion of routine. The clarity of the full moon is like a lit flame in your heart. The routine of the valley, with its winds of stress, others' demands and distractions, can easily extinguish it. This ritual is to become the guardian of the flame, of your own clarity. Every morning, for the next 7 days, before you pick up your phone, before you connect with the outside world, sit for just 2 minutes. Close your eyes, breathe deeply, and visualize the clarity, the feeling of power and authority you felt at the peak of the full moon, as a small but intense and inextinguishable golden flame burning in the center of your chest. Place your hands over your heart and imagine that your hands are a shield protecting this flame. With each inhale, see the flame becoming a little stronger, more stable. With each exhale, visualize it radiating that calm and clarity throughout your body. Make the silent intention: today, I protect the flame of my clarity. My actions will be guided by this inner light. This 2-minute ritual keeps the resonance of your revelation alive in your energy field, creating a protection against valley amnesia. The third and final ritual creates a bridge between the invisible world of intention and the visible world of matter. Our mind forgets, but our body and our senses remember. This is the physical anchor ritual. Choose a small object that you have or can find in nature. A smooth stone from a river, a small crystal, a ring you don't wear often. Hold this object in your hands, sit in silence, and close your eyes again. Evoke with all your might the feeling of the full moon peak, the clarity of the verdict, the authority, the peace of achievement. Project that feeling, that intention, into the object in your hands. Program it with your will. Tell it that its function is to be a reminder of this energy. Carry this object with you, in your pocket, in your purse, or leave it on your desk. Whenever you feel lost in the confusion of the valley, whenever the old doubt or the old pattern tries to return, hold your anchor. Let its texture and weight bring you back instantly to the wisdom and strength you have already achieved. Translate the vision, protect the flame, and anchor the wisdom. These are simple practices, but they create the bridge between the heaven of revelation and the earth of your daily life. By practicing them, you ensure that the descent from the mountain is not a loss of altitude, but rather the beginning of the journey to transform the entire landscape of the valley. And that is the true mark of a sovereign. And this is the true mark of a sovereign. It is not the ability to reach the top, but the discipline to bring the wisdom of the top into the valley. The transformation that this complete cycle of the full moon offers you is the passage from being a spiritual tourist to becoming an embodied master. The tourist visits the peaks, takes photos of the view, feels the euphoria of the altitude, and then goes back home to the same old life, with only a good story to tell, a memory that fades. The master, the sovereign, is different. He climbs the mountain, absorbs the vision, and then, deliberately and patiently, brings the essence of the mountain with him. He doesn't just visit wisdom, he embodies it. He lives it in his actions. in his words, in his silence. He learns to make the soil of his valley as sacred as the mountain's peak. The power you take from this journey is not a noisy or performative power. It is a quiet strength that resides in your center. It is the confidence of knowing that you no longer need to wait for grand astrological events to have clarity, because you have learned to protect your own inner flame. You have learned to translate your vision into action. You have learned to use your own anchor. Many who felt the euphoria of the full moon yesterday will have already forgotten its message tomorrow, swept away by the force of routine and valley amnesia. They will return to their old patterns, waiting for the next big wave to feel alive again. But you, by committing to the work of integration, join a select group of souls who understand that the real magic does not happen in the event, but in the day-to-day that follows. If this three-part journey, the vigil, the verdict, and the integration, has resonated with your soul, honor this complete cycle and seal your learning by liking this video, and to declare to the universe your intention not just to be a visitor of wisdom, but a carrier of it. Go to the comments section and affirm with the strength of a master builder who now knows how to make things real. I integrate. Feel the power of this word. It is your promise to embody your clarity, to live your truth. Read the declarations of other souls who are also descending the mountain, and know that you are not alone in the valley. And share this trilogy with those who need a complete map, not just to reach the peak, but to know what to do afterward. Finally, subscribe and activate the notifications, because the descent from the mountain is not an end, but the preparation for a new beginning. Each lunar cycle is a step on the ladder of our evolution. You have cleared the terrain. You have fertilized the soil with the wisdom you have gained. Now this soil is more fertile than ever. The next new moon will arrive soon, bringing the opportunity to plant a new seed. A seed born not from blind hope, but from hard-won clarity. In our next transmission, we will talk about how to choose the right seed for your next great cycle of manifestation. The journey never ends. It only deepens.